Hello, my name is Andy Gillian, and welcome back to another Inside the Project video. It's long overdue, I haven't done one of these in a while, but this is a series where I take you through an old song I wrote and really break it down, take you through all the thought processes I had when I composed the song, and hopefully give you some top secret information about how I composed it and all the rest of it. I've taken a little time away from YouTube recently for various reasons. Thank you so much for those who've stuck with me. I really appreciate it. Thanks for being here today to watch this. It's really fun to just break a song down that I've written and analyze it, go and revisit that myself and remind myself of all the things I did, and then be able to share with you, those processes. Now, you may or you may not have seen the new music video that I posted for Becoming the Nightmare, along with a behind the scenes video, which is also a lot of fun. You can go check that out. Check those videos out. Maybe not now, maybe watch this video first. I don't want to, maybe pause this and watch those and then watch this. Just watch all of the videos, please. I need all the views I can get. All right. This is a video we worked on for about 2 years. We ran into literally every problem you can think of, plus the added bonus of the global pandemic, which, didn't help. What we're going to do today, we're going to look at the actual song itself. I've recently built a new computer, but I've had to fire up old Betsy because Never After was written on my old PC. I've fired that up, dusted it off. There is a small chance it will catch fire during this video. It's quite a dense orchestral mix, this song. So if it does judder and stutter a little bit, I apologize. And if the computer does explode during this stream, please honor my death by posthumously picking up a copy of my album. All proceeds will probably go to my newly widowed wife. So there's that. It's always a strange feeling opening up an old project like this, just looking and just being in this space again. 2 years on, I think now, from the last time I opened this. So many sleepless nights were spent in here cobbling this together. This song actually has quite an interesting backstory. It wasn't always intended to be on Never After. I actually started composing this song as film score for a horror film. So I spoke to the director of the film and they said, we want you to compose something in the realm of Psycho, the original Psycho score by Bernard Herrmann, who is a composing legend and a hero of mine. So I thought, God, yeah, I'd absolutely love to do that. My mum always told me, how amazing that film score was. That soundtrack is iconic, to say the least, and I wanted to have a stab at that myself. He was pushing the boundaries of what string sections and violin players could do with their instrument. All these scratchy sounds, and I wanted to emulate that. I wanted to write something like that. I wanted to push myself. Spent a day and a night feverishly working at this, what I thought at the time was a masterpiece. Literally sat back, I was just like, oh, I'm done. Submitted it, emailed the thing over to the guy. Suddenly nothing. So I chase up with an email and I say, so did you get the song? Did you like it? Was it okay? Was it good? A day later I got an email back just saying, it's good. It's good. It's good. Okay. So I emailed the guy back and I said, so is this going to get used? Are we working together? Did I get the job? And he came back and said, well, there's 50 other composers that have submitted tracks for this, so, I'm just kind of picking the best one, really. I'll let you know. Welcome to the demoralizing world of being a freelance composer. I assume it didn't get used. I don't know. There could be a short horror film out there with my music on it. I certainly didn't get paid for it. About a year later, I think, I was on holiday in Venice, walking around, beautiful architecture around me. At the time I was writing Never After, and as I'm walking the streets of Venice, I started to hear it again in my head, and I thought, can I put guitar to that? And I suddenly the intro to the song, it wrote itself. That was the worst click ever. I actually hurt my hand doing that. Guitars come into my head, and I wrote the intro on the spot, and then the verse followed, and I created this verse riff around. Everything was built around this little string piece that I'll play you in a second. Sorry for rambling on. Suddenly it was like, bam, that's it. That's it. It was like a eureka moment. Oh my God, this can be a song. This can be a metal song. This is going to be the most epic thing I've ever written, perhaps. So I had this Psycho-like string theme, and then I had to really work at creating a riff around that didn't clash with it, but kind of complemented it, but didn't play the same notes, and it kind of had to mesh. But this thing was so horrible and eerie sounding, and how could I ever fit the two things together? It happened. Somehow it happened in my brain in that moment. Bam, it just happened. I'm going to start by playing you just the isolated strings, the way it was intended to be heard originally for that film score, and then I'll play it with all the metal on top of it and how it ended up becoming a song on my album Never After. You can actually go and listen to this yourself on my SoundCloud page. The song is called Distress. I just smacked my elbow against the table. Ow! It was very much a distressful piece of music, so I called it Distress. All right, there you go. Go listen to it. SoundCloud. Go do it now. Don't do it now. That's just the strings, the way they were intended to be heard for that short film. Didn't get used. Did not get used. I'm quite angry still. You could probably tell. But I made it into something, and that's the main thing. Hans Zimmer would tell you to delete ideas. I say never delete ideas. Keep your old ideas. Maybe in a year's time you'll make it into something like I did with this. I'll show you now. In Cubase, look at this. This is wonderful. First of all, I'm going to show you that string section on its own. So I think this green section here is the intro. This purpley section here is the sweet part. I can kind of see it. I can visualize it. That's why I do the color coding. And then this will be the first verse, this lighter green section. And this is where that original piece of music was written. So as I said, there's quite a few things going on here. Lots of different parts. You can even see here it says Psycho Rip. And for these sounds, I think I used East West Quantum Leap Gold. They do lots of cool orchestral effects, kind of scratchings on the violin, which are really cool for this. I wanted to really go out there and make something a little bit unique. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit S and solo all of those tracks. So you're just going to hear the orchestra now and the soundscapes. And this is pretty much how it was intended to be heard first time round. There's a lot of meshed dissonance that you perhaps wouldn't expect. That's where the feeling of distress comes from. A disharmonious feeling of uncomfortableness that I wanted to create. And I'll show you some of the effects now that I was talking about. So this just says 11 violins, 5th slide up hard. We'll see what that sounds like now. So there's that kind of slide. So one of those notes just sounds like this. And I'm just creating a melody sliding up every time. And then I have this arco lead. And that's really the main melody of this section. And there's a little bit of modulation going on here as well, so that those lines are a little bit lower than the main sort of theme. And that's usually because the string will swell at a different volume when you hold the note down. I'll play you just those two together now. They complement each other, but they also oppose each other. And it's just a beautiful thing to create that kind of maddening feeling. It's a very sorrowful feeling, and I thought I was really onto something. That's probably why I was so angry when the director kind of just brushed it aside like it was nothing. Anyway, there's many more layers to go through. Soft strings. Introduce them with the others. Just creating this kind of dark waltzy vibe in 3/4 time. Effectively a waltz. Although I think I mapped it out in 6/4. But that's some technical shit I'm not going to get into. Tina's in the house, Tina Guo. She comes in and plays this on the cello. Wow, I wasn't expecting that. Oh, I wasn't expecting that. That's beautiful. That change here. Yeah. I mean, that note isn't... That clashes completely. That note there. It's creating dissonance, but in a harmonious way, in a strange way, and then all those together sound like this. Just these four. You know, this stuff is all hidden from the listener. You'll hear it as one big thing, and maybe a few times in you'll hear something new, and that's why I like to layer tracks. Everyone knows that when I talk about layering, it's because I want people to be able to listen over and over again and hear something new every time. But I guess I didn't realise just how much there was. There's almost like 10 different songs going on at the same time, and I want people to hear everything. So that's why I love doing these videos. You know, there's so much more to these songs than possibly what people think. This is some pizzicato strings, which means just plucking the strings like that. It's really, really hard. So actually slapping these strings. Yeah, that's beautiful. So I'll just introduce that now. So just accenting the first beat of every bar, effectively. And then you've got this staccatissimo string line. I'll take you through that now quickly. So that's stacked over 2 octaves. And that's effectively like an ostinato, it's like a bass line. It's just sort of underpinning everything and giving a bit more rhythm and movement to the piece. So I'll introduce everything back in now so you can hear that. It's subtle, but it's there. You know, I'm writing Never After 2. I could actually bring this back and play this on its own, maybe in some capacity on the next album. Now I'm listening to it, I think it deserves its own moment, you know, its own spotlight moment. Then you've got the monster brass, which seems to be complementing the Pizzicato strings. So we've kind of doubled, we've layered those 2 instruments together. This is that big Hans Zimmer tuba. Boom. Love that. And then there's piano. I think there's just a bass note on the piano doing the same thing there. Bam. Okay, that's going with the brass and with the pizzicato, and together they create this kind of all-in-one sound. It's like someone's at your doorstep. Like, that's like the zombies knocking on your door. Do you know what I mean? That's pretty beautiful. Oh, it's eerie. That's scary. And I'm trying to write for a horror film, so that's why it's coming across that way. Action Strikes comes in. This is a layering of some very high up kind of thing, just tickling away at your eardrums, and then a big low thud as well. And I think that's about it for this section. I'm going to play it all together again so you can hear it in context. So one more time. Cool, and that's it. So now I want to take you through how that actually sounds with guitar on top, and what I ended up doing to make that into a riff, or make that into a metal section, not just this really dark string sort of, almost like a quartet really, when you think about how many, 1, 2, 3, 4, quintet. We'll call it a quintet. I did quad track this album. I was a maniac and I did 4 guitars at all times. These are the DI tracks. That's just the raw signal from the guitar. There's 4 of them at any one time, quad tracked, panned hard left, hard right, and then 2 just slightly in to give that big full spectrum. I remember it was a bit of a nightmare, excuse the pun, to actually do that for this album, because the riffs were quite intricate. But it was worth doing, I think, in the end. My friend Plek in Sweden then reamped this with a 5153, I believe, if memory serves, and I have that track now. So if you just disregard these 4, this is what would be played, but I've muted those because it's just the DI tracks. And this is a stereo bounce now of all of those guitars together, and that sounds like this. So that's the riff I came up with. I don't think I've heard a riff quite like that. It's quite a strange riff, and it has to be because it's complementing a strange piece of music that's already there. Slidey, bleak sounding note choices. And then here it doesn't even start on the on beat, which is incredible. It's like da-na, da-da, and it comes in late if you hear that. You know, you'd think it would start on bar 26. And then it comes in. So it's mimicking the strangeness of whatever the hell was going on in my messed up mind at that point. And all together I'll play the whole riff. So this is, we've jumped ahead a little bit, I'll go back to the start now, but this is how it came out in the end as one. We've got 6/6 sound drums down here. This isn't going to sound quite as polished as the final mix and master that was done by my friend Plek in Sweden, but this is kind of my mix before I sent it over. So it's kind of a collaborative effort. More or less, you're going to hear it as it ended up. Cool. So that's how it ended up. That's how it ended up. 6/6 Sounds did a wonderful job here with the drums. Just give you a little insight to that. Can't get enough. Brilliant, brilliant. I love the way he just overplays everything he does. It's wonderful. I'll just take you straight to the intro now. Starts off with these weird sounds here. Awesome. Okay, cool. So that intro is made up of some soundscaping at the start where I loaded up a load of different sounds. We'll look at those now to create that eerie intro. And obviously the concept of the album is the protagonist, Aria. She's walking into this forest, into this dream world, and this kind of haunted forest is effectively what we're going for. So it kind of played really well into what I'd already written for that horror film. So I'll take you through one at a time. The CBS. Now that CBS, that stands for contrabass solo. Contrabass is basically a double bass, okay? So the big, huge thing. This is contrabass solo crescendos. This is how it sounds. It's just swelling up nicely there. It's beautiful. Okay, and then we've got 18V. That means 18 violins, cluster, and air. That means very high, the very high pitched kind of string sound you're going to get off that. Let's hear that. It's just beautiful. Hissing. Yeah, that's really psycho-like. It's so cool. Very, very much horror movie stuff. Penderecki is the name of a composer who actually utilized scratching the violins like this. Which reminds me of spiders crawling. Very cool. And we've got 11 Violin Scratching here. That's actually less scratching and actually bowed, but in a tremolo kind of way. That's really nice. So all of these sounds are hand-picked, and they're not even to the grid. You know, I've put these kind of off, very much off beats, to try and get it to land with the crescendo in the right spot. 11 Violin Slow Trill Effect Siren. This will be a lot of fun, I think. Let's have a look at this one. That's so cool. That's literally like a siren on a violin, and that reminds me a lot of the Joker, you know, the Joker's theme from Batman by Hans Zimmer, and I wanted to incorporate that manic all hell's gonna break loose kind of vibe, and that's what that does for me. This is the Psycho Rip, 11 violins doing this, and I mean you can see right now this is dissonance. There's 4 notes together chromatically. That wouldn't make sense in music. I wanted it to sound like that, one on its own. So I've put 4 together that are completely, there's no harmony going on at all. They're just, it's to create a sense of dissonance. And it's just beautiful. I love that. And that's doing that on every beat, it seems. Then we have this Psycho run-up. Let's see what that sounds like. So it's just... Okay, that's nice. Then we have the 11 violins. I think this is like a glissando run. Piano and Monster Brass doing that bump thing that we like. Action strikes, the percussion starts to do some rumblings underneath. Scraping the waterphone. I don't know if this is being used. Oh, it is being used. What is this? I have no idea what this means. Okay, cool. So that is a sound effect from Omnisphere. Omnisphere 2 to be precise. Horrific images. Again, this is Omnisphere. Let's have a look at this. It's cool. So this is just soundscaping now. We're just kind of filling the void with eerie kind of sounds. And then I've got these whispers. And you can see that I've automated it so that it fades in. It's kind of scary, isn't it? And then it gets into this cool thing. You can see it build, getting bigger. I'm just stacking on top of each other. And again, now we're at 4 octaves. Awesome sound. And I'll play it again so you can hear all of that in context with the explanation. stop there. And I'm going to play it with the guitar and the drums. The guitar was playing this, just chugs. I hear the original DIs, all four together sounded like this. Cool, it was worth reamping that. Now we move into this purple section, which is the sweeping section, and this sounds like this. Okay, so how I layered that was I had these four chords. That sounds like this. And then I have the lead guitar left and right. For some reason I did two. That's because they're harmonies. So left on its own. Introduce the right. Right on its own. Just doing a third above. So together that beautiful sound. Very hard to play that. It doesn't lend itself too well to guitar, those changes. And that's it. There's then some arco strings here. They're just following the chords of the guitar. I think I heard some choir. Yes, I did. And then there's some choir. Ominous choir there. Always, you've got to do that, and you mix that with the strings. Creates this beautiful sound. Alright, that's that section, and then we move on then. So you've basically got this intro kind of chugging, building up into this ominous, big, grandiose moment of sweeping, which is still kind of the intro of the song. Now you're into the verse, we've already gone through that. That is the original idea with the guitar on top. Sounded like this. Interestingly enough, I've still got the demo drums on it. You can hear how it would have sounded without Samus. Obviously not as good, that's for sure. But yeah, the demo drums. This is the idea I had originally. That's what I wrote. Samus then did his own thing, and I mean, it sounded a lot better than what I did. Let's admit that. Yeah, he went ham on the kicks there. 6-6 Samus, very capable drummer. Go check him out if you haven't already. He is a much bigger YouTuber than I am. Into this pinky purple section now. Out of the verse and into this. I don't know what I would call that. I would call this kind of like almost a pre-chorus, or maybe just a second verse. The lead guitar is doing harmonies. And then a third harmony, Brian May style. It's a very lush sound there. Not a great deal going on the strings here. In fact, there's nothing. That's really interesting, and I guess my intention is to kind of step back from the strings from where you don't want to always be going, because then it loses impact, right? You want to bring in the orchestra when you need it, and back off when you don't. So when it comes back with force, and you don't get used to it. And we go back to the intro green section again, which is this. I have noticed there's the scratching of violin strings making a reappearance here. Yep. So they just crescendo and lead you back into this section. I like that because it familiarizes the listener to what they heard at the start. And you start to just, maybe subconsciously, it's very low in the mix, but you can just hear this coming back. It's there. You don't maybe pick up on it 100%, but it's there, and that leads you back into this section again. Oh, I didn't notice this thing. This little tower of notes. That's amazing. See, little secrets that I didn't even realise I put in. That's cool. Is that in the first version? If you go back to the very start. See, it's not. That's something I added in later. Again, you know, you create layers that even you forget about, and that's the beauty of this. Looking back on these projects, you find little secrets. So that little tower of notes isn't here because we didn't need it yet. But to make it more varied later on in the song, I've gone in and I've thought, you know what? This could do with something a bit special here. No one will ever notice, but it's there. It's there for me. I know it's there. Even I didn't. I forgot. But there we go. Blue section. What's this? Again, the orchestra, as you can see, there's no MIDI here. The orchestra's backed off. Samus and guitars are just taking over. The structure of the songs on Never After, they're a bit different to the usual kind of, I'm not writing this music for a singer. I'm not writing it in a conventional sense. So I get to do what I want. I want it to be that way. I want it to be a dream world where anything can happen and the rules are all broken. I do like to kind of stick to structures. Black Lotus, for example, is a song on the album that has a very similar melodeath structure. But I don't want this to get boring. I don't want it to be too boring, and I don't want it to be predictable. The worst thing you can tell me as a composer is my music's boring, so I try to keep it very interesting. And that's why I'm not just doing the usual structure. This is going to a new thing altogether. One thing I didn't do, if we check out my demo drums for this section, I didn't do that on the ride cymbal, which was really nice for Samus to have that. This is my original. I'd then send that to 66 Samus, he would do the drums. This is what he came up with. That little ride. I want to shine a light on that. It's just great, it's just in there, and just those little gems that he added to this album, wonderful. Into the orange section. I should probably shine light on the bass as well. The bass is programmed on this album. Some people don't like that. That's what I did. I programmed it. I'm not shy about that. I enjoy writing bass lines. Following the guitar runs on there. This bass line here I'm quite fond of. Beautiful. It's in there, you will hear that. You will hear that, but again, you might not notice that as an integral layer until you've heard it about 100 times. You see that what the bass was doing was, it was foreshadowing what the guitars were about to do. So together they, bass and guitar together. But back here the bass was already playing that. The guitars were just playing chords. The guitars are playing kind of an opethy type thing. But the bass is already playing that riff when they come together. It's a beautiful thing, you know? So extra, I love it. And then you have these lead guitars here. So again, this is a new section. This isn't a repeat of anything that we've had before. The only repeats so far we seem to have are these green intro sections, and then we've got all kinds of different verses kicking around here to try and keep things exciting. There are no rules, do what you want. Don't let anybody tell you you can't do that. Just do what you want. Do what makes you feel good, you know? Lead guitars, left and right. As for orchestra, it's probably just choir, yep. Just choir playing this. A little dip in automation there. Oh, that is evil. Yeah. Love it. And what comes next? Ah, this is the fun part. Okay, cool. So this is the section in the middle. You see this yellow bit here. So let's talk about the yellow section now. This is like the golden hour section of the music video. If you haven't seen it yet, this is when the forest becomes light. We go into daytime. And interesting that this is yellow, because that's exactly how the video ended up looking. So what we have is everything pretty much backing off. You have the return of the pendetichi, kind of scratching of the violin. You have the return of the whispers, which are a common theme on this album, actually. These whispers here. It's really haunting and eerie. And then again, you've got these kind of the waterphone and the horrific images coming back in. It's cool. A little bit of action strikes kicking off there. But otherwise, it's just this section just drops out completely, and we lead into, I guess, the big breakdown of the song. And I should probably point out before I go any further that there's a clock ticking, and this is quite a crude way to do it, but I took a sample of a clock ticking and copy-pasted it, and it wasn't in time, obviously, with the BPM, so I had to manually put it in time, which is why I've got all these silly cuts. And is it time stretched? I'm not 100% sure, but it's not quite the BPM of the song, so I had to do lots of cuts to make it work. And this is what that sounds like, and I'll actually give you a bit of insight into the effects going on as well, because this is quite interesting. I remember there being a few effects on here to make it sound cool. It's good, isn't it? I encourage you to listen to this bit in headphones. Obviously, the whole album should be listened to in headphones because it's very 3D. There's a lot of panning going on. This bit especially, go grab some headphones right now, pause the video and put it back on, because I want you to hear the panning going on here. It says auto pan here. The reason being stereo delay, which is obviously really important. Sort of a ping pong kind of delay going on there. I want it to sound as big and wonderful as possible. This really cool reverb called RC24, which is really awesome. Magneto 2, which is just sort of saturating the highs, and then auto pan. What this does is, I've got it 100% width. It's just slowly panning the clock ticking from left to right and then back right to left, and it's just doing this in your ears. And if you listen on your phone, you're probably never going to hear that. If you listen in headphones or on a good setup, you'll hear that moving, and it's really beautiful. And we'll move on to this section here as everything kind of starts to build into this classical. Oh yeah. So now we're into the waltz of the song, the sort of middle eight, I guess it would technically be. I dragged it out a little bit longer than that. We got the return of the fifth slide up. This is really interesting because I forgot about this. These violin slides are probably what's responsible for making this song sound so weird and eerie. So to have this in a section like this, in this sort of calm waltz breakdown section, is interesting. But I've made it work, so it complements the peacefulness. That's crazy to me. You've also got the arco coming in here. Off big chords. Big chords. 3-4 octaves of chords. Beautiful. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's a classic waltz. Pizzicato strings. Plucking away there. Really nice. Really nice. And then what else do we have? We have staccato strings here. Playing a lead line. I'm definitely going to play this all together without the guitar or anything. Then some piano comes in. Just accenting the rhythm really with piano. It's kind of cool. And then a celeste, of course. The music box sound. which is a theme throughout the entire album. And then, of course, the guitars, left and right, sound like this. Really nice. So I guess we should listen to this section. Guitars now. I just love how this eerie section made a comeback only for that start part. That shouldn't work there. But it echoes what you heard before. It ties it in a knot. It really subconsciously makes a difference. Then it drops out and allows the guitars to come in and take over. Really nice. And you can see it's going to come back here later in the song. Just skip along a little. You can hear those sounds coming back in the scratching of the strings. You can see them all here. Into possibly the biggest moment of the entire song. That is a wonderful, kind of a natural crescendo. There's no tricks of volume swelling. That is just the instruments arranged well in that they will just come together and naturally form a crescendo. So you hear the likes of these guys coming back in now. The siren comes back in. Here we go. Beautiful. My camera is telling me I have 4 minutes left on the memory card. How upsetting is that? God damn it. This red section here is effectively the chorus, and you can see it returning here as well. And we'll go straight for it now. Bass is doing this. Strings happening here, just playing those big chords. I think there's probably not a lot else going on with the orchestra, but obviously you've got these lead guitars left and right, harmony, third above, third below. I like to do that a lot, hand a little bit left and right. Celeste is carried on with the melody the entire time. It's beautiful. Oh, I forgot to say there's actually a women's choir doing oohs. Here we go. They sound like this. That's so nice. Love doing these breakdowns because you just rediscover things It's so nice. Brilliant. And here Samus is going to town on the kicks. Really sweet, really cool. I'm glad I included Samus. I dropped those drums back in. Obviously my drums are never going to be as good as Samus. I think I accidentally had them playing throughout. That's the mistake there. And we go into this blue section, light blue section, which is really just orchestra. And that's going back, as you can hear, to the original theme, which is really cool, that haunting theme on its own. Samus comes back in. And builds up again, let's go. It's just awesome. Alright, we're back. I have a new SD card in there. Let's crack on. Super professional as always. Love it. So yeah, this section is the same. That's interesting because now we're doing that same section again effectively. So yeah, we've returned to that original theme, almost, because it's been tweaked. And I'll play you it now, if you remember the old one. Let's go right down here. So all of those, so you can hear just the orchestra. Hang on a minute. We need to check what this is. Why is there just one tiny guitar on its own? That's cool. Really cool. So that guitar there is just doing a third harmony with these boys. That's really nice. That's a nice sound. I like that. Okay. Back to where I was though. Let's check out just the orchestra for this section. Boom. So this is the original theme, roundabout. But it's got this ostinato going on underneath it. It's like a more hopeful version of... If the other one was complete despair, this is kind of a hopeful version of that. Many, many different layers here. I'm just going to crack into one at a time now. We've got this guy. This is more or less what the guitar will do when it takes over. Dropping down into that second chord. It's really nice. And then we've got this. I completely forgot about this. What's this one doing? There's so many layers now, this is getting crazy. So that's 3 counter melodies already. I like that a lot. And then there's the pizzicato. That's hilarious, because that sounds exactly... This is cool. So, this sounds a lot like... this is the 4th melody, by the way, 4th count melody. This sounds like... Well, it's not really... I mean, it is a melody, but it's also working as like that ostinato, or that bass line, or that kind of extra rhythm section. But if you actually took the first note off and played it from here, this is very similar to that Christmas carol, Carol of the Bells. And that's in there, but it's over one, so it sounds like this. So it's dum dum da da dum dum da da dum dum da da instead of dum da da dum dum da da dum. It just works. It just works with the rest of the instruments. That wasn't intentional, I don't think. It's in there, it's hidden away, but that's where you don't necessarily want to hear that, but those notes needed to be there, and they're doing something. They're underpinning, they're accenting, they are doing some sort of counter rhythm or counter melody which holds it all together. That's interesting. I don't remember that line being there at all. Tina's back. What you got, Tina? Show me. Sombra's always from Tina there on the cello. Arco strings just kind of doing the thing that they do. Beautifully. Just a somber moment in the song, isn't it, really? What we got here. Back with this again. Really nice. And then the sliding, which we like as well. All together now. And then Samus will come in on hats. It's just drums and orchestra. Bringing the guitars now. Rhythm guitar. So if I were to play just the rhythm guitar and the orchestra together, let's do that. Let's just take out the drums here. You've got the bass as well. Very nice. And this purple section is kind of like just lead guitar central. It's kind of taken over from what this section's doing, more or less, but adding these guitars left and right. This is kind of really the conventional guitar solo of the song. Nice, really nice. I'll just play that from about here with everything. In terms of what the orchestra's doing, they're carrying on that section. I love Samus's accent there on the ride again. Beautiful. This for me is one of the most moving sections of music I've ever written. This bit is just, this is hope. This is taking the horror of what our character Arya, if you're not familiar with the concept of the album, is gone through this horrible forest, and this is the moment, and you'll see it in the music video as well, the moment of hope and realization of I'm not afraid anymore, and that complete turning of the tide where she's just like, you know what, I'm not afraid, this is my forest, this is my imagination, this is my dream world, and I'm in control. And it just feels that way, you know, you take it from despair to kind of a bit more hope to triumph almost. What's the word I'm looking for? It's defiance, I think is the word. She's defiant in her resilience. There's some strings, there's some choir. I think that's kind of bringing in that heroic sort of vibe, this combination. It's in there, you might not hear it, but it's there. And that gives us that hero kind of vibe. But really, it's the guitars that take over here and do the business. So I just want to hear those on their own, lead guitar left and right. A lot of dual harmonies on this song. And then these ones take over from there, and I wanted to leave that spilling over. And I've added a pinch harmonic here to just vary it from the first one. I was wanting it to sound a little bit different the second time around. Nothing's copy pasted in that sense. I don't like copy pasting lead guitars. I want at least the lead guitars to always have a new voice when they come back around. Yeah. Slightly different, just to keep the listener more engaged, more interested. Little tricks like that. And then you have the real triumphant part. It's kind of building, isn't it? You've got this kind of a little bit more hopeful version of the despair of the theme that we had before. You've got then, there's a bit more hope. It's like, okay, you know what? Maybe there's more to this. And then, big moment of defiance. And then there's the moment of just pure control. And here's the interesting thing, is this section, this purple section here, is exactly the same as this one, only the chords are different. So the guitars are playing almost exactly the same sweeps, and the arrangement is almost exactly the same, but instead of it being evil chords, it's now triumphant chords, but playing the same thing. And I love that, because we've taken you from feeling this despair and this unease, and I'm in this dark place, to I'm still in this dark place, but this dark place is now my bitch. And now it sounds like this. Yes. I take it back, I think this is my favourite in terms of emotion. I said this is the most emotional. This is emotional, but this is the climax of the emotion right here. Listen to how powerful that is, and again, I think we're just on like choir. I'll drop in choir. We'll put the strings together. They're doing this. These are the new chords, so it's the same thing, but new chords, which change the whole vibe. They change the whole feeling of what's going on, and it's storytelling. It's storytelling, and I think we as humans love that. We love patterns. We love repetition. We love to hear something the the same but different, and that's what's going on here. So I'm going to give you guitars. I'm going to take out the sweeps. I don't want you to hear those yet. I just want you to hear what's going on in the background, because there's these two lead guitars here. That is beautiful. That's... And all the while you have those sweeps. These sweeps going now. And they're playing almost the same as this one, but obviously the chords have changed, so they've had to change as well. Bass is just doing root notes. And then we find ourselves back at the chorus, I guess you would call it. So there is repetition. That's necessary in songwriting. But the rules have been massively bent, if not broken, in that it doesn't follow the usual rondo structure, or like, you know, the A, B, C, A, or whatever it is. This is very much like A, B, C, D, A, F, G, H, and then I comes back here, and B comes back here, and it's a bit... And then, of course, right at the end, we've got the full guitars just doing... Which is a nod to the very beginning of the song, so it comes full circle. It's beautiful. It's very much written with that intention of coming full circle and being a story in itself, even though it's just one chapter of the story of Never After. Okay. It's just the perfect way to start an album, I think. So then we go back into this section, which is the chorus, as I call it. I've heard it before. And if you remember, that's really just the waltz, but made into a metal track. And it plays out one more time, and then we arrive on that last green section. And it's done. And there you go. And we're ending on those, all those sounds come back again from the orchestra, which created that. I'll just play that on its own. Orchestra on its own now for the last sort of section. Beautiful. Ends with a bang, love it. Okay, and that's the song. That is it, in its entirety, all the layers stripped back and explained, hopefully. I could go on, I could go on and on and on about this song. I feel like I could honestly do a 10-hour video on that song, probably a 4,000-hour video on the whole making of Never After. I wish I could, I wish I had time to do it, and I wish people cared enough that they would want to watch that. Maybe you do. If you haven't heard Never After, please go and check it out. It's on Spotify, but it does help if you pick up a copy of the album from my website, or support me in that way as well. You can get it from Bandcamp as well. You can get a digital download if you're not interested in the physical stuff. There's merch. It all helps support me in making more of these. I'm working on the sequel to this album now as well. Thank you so much for, being a part of my audience and allowing me to delve back into these projects and feel that I've got a purpose and a reason to live in writing this music for you. For an artist, it's very self-indulgent, obviously, but it's also very rewarding to be able to share this stuff with you and the creative process rather than just the end result. As I said, if you haven't seen the music video, please go check that out. There's also a behind-the-scenes documentary of all the pain we went through to make the video possible. If you enjoyed this music, please consider supporting the project. I'm still making music, I'm still out here doing it. Nothing's changed, nothing's gonna change, I'm always gonna be out here making music. Or perhaps you enjoyed the music so much you want to support me on Patreon. There's a link below as well for that. That is really helping me continue to do what I love doing, which is making decadent, layered, over-the-top music, which does take a hell of a lot of time to put together. Over on Patreon right now, I'm actually doing monthly live streams where I will write music. I'm actually writing the sequel to this album right now. Not right now, I am in fact in front of a camera talking to you, but I'm writing Never After 2 on live streams. It's a really weird way to work where, you know, people can actually tell me in real time whether they think the idea is good or not. It's a collaborative effort and it's a lot of fun. There is a ton of new music coming from me soon. Been working really hard, been working on Never After 2, but I've also been working on a new solo album which is going to drop very soon, getting that mixed basically right now. It sounds amazing. I can't wait to release it. Other than that, I hope everyone's surviving the pandemic. I appreciate you giving me a little bit of your time today. Time is precious, and I appreciate every viewer I get. So thank you very much. Subscribe if you haven't already and you want to see more of this. And if you do want to see more of these Inside the Project videos, please comment below and tell me which song or which album you want me to do it on. I'll go back and I'll look at some of the old stuff I've worked on. We'll crack it open, we'll have a look at what's going on inside, and obviously going forward I'll try and do some more videos like this for the new songs I create. Other than that, look after yourselves and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next video. Cheers.